Commanders could soon have a new owner. Dan and Tanya Snyder have agreed to sell the team to a group led by Josh Harris. That includes NBA legend Magic Johnson and billionaire Mitchell Rales. Harris is also the majority owner of the Philadelphia 76ers and the co-owner of the New Jersey Devils. Snyder first bought the team back in 1999 for $750 million, back when the team was known as the Redskins. The $6 billion sale tops last year's $4.5 billion deal for the Denver Broncos, and Dan Snyder currently faces numerous investigations into sexual harassment and financial misconduct. So what does the sale mean for the team, for the NFL, for the Snyders, and everything moving forward? We're going to get some legal advice, and I'm joined by Mitchell Epner, a former federal prosecutor, a member of the firm Rottenberg, Lippman, Rich, PC, and we like to call him a friend of the show. Good morning, Mitchell.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
All right, so I know you're a huge Dan Snyder fan. I know you talk all the time about how much you love him, and so I want to sidestep that a little bit. But just how close is this to actually happening? Because let's say my brother's in investment banking. He's like, you got to look at the details of the deal. It might still fall through. We're all big-time Redskins fans in the Carr household, so we're all just waiting with bated breath. Is it really going to happen?
I don't think that the NFL would have allowed this to be announced if they didn't think this was going to go through. And at least according to the Washington Post, the NFL has decided that they're going to allow Josh Harris to bend some of their usual guidelines about how many people can be involved and doing a background check on each and every one of the minority owners in order to get Dan Snyder out of the league as quickly as possible.
Now, that is what this amounts to, right? They are trying to greenlight this thing so that they get rid of him.
They want to get rid of him, and he gets $6 billion, and to go from being one of the most prominent people in the D.C. area to just another anonymous billionaire.
I don't think he's going to be anonymous, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So, again, a big fan of Daniel Snyder. I'm being totally tongue-in-cheek. Some of the stuff you've said about Dan Snyder, entertaining. But how much do you think that this is about money? How much is it about strategy, legal strategy to be specific?
I think that Dan Snyder was informed that he could go away or he could go away unhappy, and he decided to go away.
When you say he could go away or go away unhappy, what do you mean?
I think that some of the owners, and Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, was public about it, were prepared to take the enormous step of going to a forced sale to officially kick him out of the league, which would have taken control of the sale away from him and might have led to Jeff Bezos owning the team, which apparently is something Dan Snyder very much wanted to avoid.
Are you all right?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right, good. So what legal issues does Dan Snyder face? We mentioned a couple of them, but you and I have talked about them. So please tell everybody kind of what legal issues he faces here.
So he has right now an active investigation by Mary Jo White, who used to be the commissioner of the SEC. Before that, meaning the Securities and Exchange Commission, not the Southeastern Conference, and used to be the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. And she is apparently very close to issuing her report into investigations of financial improprieties, sexual harassment, and other improper behavior. He is also being investigated by actual law enforcement with regard to whether his testimony, actually it's not testimony, cooperation that he supposedly gave to the government during an earlier investigation was actual cooperation, or if it was obstruction of a congressional investigation. He's got a litany of legal problems, and he only decided to leave because he didn't have another good alternative.
Well, how many of these things kind of go away as a result of the sale? I realize that it doesn't absolve him, but I wonder if the fact that he might go away, as you said, or go away unhappy, if he's going away, do the powers that be decide, okay, well, we can forget about this one?
So here, you've asked a great question, and here is something that I'm looking at. Will Mary Jo White's report be made public, or will Mary Jo White's report, which is technically to the NFL, be made privately to the NFL, with the NFL issuing a synopsis of the report. If it's just a synopsis that's made public, you can hide a lot of ugliness in the difference between the raw report and the synopsis. And that may be one of the things that the NFL did in order to incentivize Dan Snyder to leave now.
Well, yeah, I remember that some of those John Gruden emails came out as a result of this investigation that had nothing to do with the Las Vegas Raiders or John Gruden. And is that the sort of thing that they're sort of like, well, that was really bad, and if this thing goes public, you're going to see more of that. So maybe we can kill two birds with one stone, get rid of Dan Snyder, and also keep a lot of the emails we don't want people to see under wraps as a result of this sale.
Well, Mitch, you've put your finger on it. Ordinarily, in a report like this, it's filled with footnotes. The footnotes tie to an appendix. The appendix is where the ugliness is. If you have a 5-page or a 10-page executive summary, even if it's filled with very damning conclusions, you don't get the nitty-gritty that creates fodder for very good journalists to say, well, let's follow up on this, let's follow up on that.
Now, let me ask you, too, do any of the legal issues follow the team, or do you get a new owner and you get a fresh start?
Well, the legal issues follow the team, but it is very easy. Remember, you can't put a team in jail. You can't. The most you could do is fine the team, and the appetite to fine the team with a new owner is going to be much reduced.
I see.
But to be really clear, to the extent the team is liable to third parties, those third parties would continue to have good claims against the team.
I see. And so my last question to you then, it's kind of dovetails with that. Are there any legal hurdles here to get in the way of this? Anything to stop this from happening, given that the NFL seems to want to facilitate it? Is there anything else that could throw a monkey wrench in here?
Well, when you ask could, there are lots of things that could go wrong. But since everybody is highly incentivized to make this happen, I would be very surprised if when preseason starts, Dan Snyder is still the owner of the Washington Commanders.
Ooh, okay. You gave all the Redskins football team, Commanders fans a lot of hope out there. I'm rubbing my hands together. Mitch Epner, a former federal prosecutor, member of the firm Rottenberg, Lippman, Rich, PC. Thank you for joining us, even though it seems like you're playing a little bit hurt today.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good morning. Now, still to come on Early Morning.